saw that basically the cloud is capable to even support high complex technical solutions in the research area. And that has brought us to a project in 2011, which started also from a discussion, I think, amongst some key research institutes and industry, called Helix Nebula. And having a number of them in the room, of course I may not have to talk too much about it, about the setup of Helix Nebula, but we are very pleased that we could find this group together, because you can see we have both from the big science, we have leading institutions in that group with CERN, EMBL and ESA, but also from industry we were able to really catch the interest of key players in industry, some of them who are also in the room here. We have created this momentum, I guess, what was needed to define a strategic plan for cloud computing in the scientific area by first saying, well, if we want to be successful, it cannot be a one-dog race. Yeah? It must be something which would enable multiple customers to make use of it, and it must be open. It must be a infrastructure that is supported by multiple clouds or multiple service providers. Second is, of course, we need to find, I heard the word before here today, a service that can be trusted. Yeah? What we have seen also from our projects in the research area in Germany, either by running it as a PPP or also by creating a certain governance structure that can really establish the belief that this service can be trusted. And obviously we have to see how this can have a long-term perspective. How would it be funded? How would it be taken on over the years? So the institutes were, of course, very helpful and I think elementary to provide really the use cases that we can run on the cloud. And we had a long process, Bob, I remember, to decide which were the best ones, because not everything fits on a cloud, as you've seen from the last slide. I think we have found very nice cases that really use the cloud in the way it should be. Yeah? First of all, the elasticity elements, but also the dynamic elements are in there. And we have, I think, with the initiative itself, we have a growing user base and a growing supplier base, which you have seen here. We have started with about 20 members. Over the last year, we have gone up to about 34 at the current state. So it's shown that it has really catched the interest. Where we are now with Helix Nebula. Well, we have finished over the last year the initial prototyping with those flagships. Very important to see that basically the technology is working also in this area, in this domain. And I think that has been confirmed. However, we have also, of course, seen the gaps. What is needed to go forward and to be able to be successful over a long term. And if you can already see from this slide, how would you start using a cloud as CERN when you have that many providers? It already shows one elementary gap that we came onto, and that is how can you ensure really that this multi-tenant, multi-cloud principle works without having to program 150 APIs. So the classical problem of how to manage a infrastructure with this flexibility. So this is what is up on the board. Resulting from that phase, from that prototyping phase, we are now going into the next phase, what's called the pilot phase. And we believe we have at least the ideas and some of the concepts that is needed for this, what we call holy grail of cloud computing. It's the federated cloud. Federated in a sense that multiple providers and multiple users can work together in a single environment, and even combining e-infrastructures with commercial infrastructures. And that should have to work then through, of course, an interfacing module that we call the blue box. It's not yet a trademark, but it seems to be picking up as being recognized now all over around. And this blue box would then enable those different types of users groups coming also from industry, not really limited to academic areas, to use those services, those cloud services from different providers across. Now there are, of course, a number of issues to solve. It's not about just technology. First and foremost, it's about governance. Yeah? How can you really establish such a model? And we believe, amongst many other things, the key thing is it must be open. Yeah? If this should be a success, it must be an open architecture, it must be open source, modules or software solutions, whatever, but it must be open. I don't think anybody will buy into long term when this has some element of limitation or roadblocks to develop that further. So what we have seen, what OpenStack has done for cloud management or Open Nebula, we see must also be done for this interfacing layer, creating a federated cloud. The other aspect is, of course, financing. If you want to develop such a thing, it's not a simple task, it's a complex task. And that requires resources, it requires an investment. Now, if you want to create a very strong and long-term platform, that will require significant resources. So we have to look into that financing aspect. And there will not be a single company which will go ahead and say, well, I will do that for the rest of the world, yes? And without having, say, a sure return of invest. Not even Deutsche Telekom will buy into that. So this is an aspect which we believe must also have a PPP component. There must be a public component in there to create this momentum. It's like building the roads before you can get traffic. It's always the same. Or building a Galileo system before you can get navigation apps. So this is an element which we also see now in the cloud computing market coming up. And then there is, of course, the technological area or the research area that we still need. Is it possible to do this? Well, we have gone through 1 year of investigations together with the users, together with the suppliers. We have established for this a technical architecture group, a service architecture group that have gone through the issues, discussed this with various university teams that are working on the research aspects of cloud, and we believe it can be done. The advantage, the benefit is that we have a number of very good building blocks to do this. And then we come a bit back to this, how to drive a portfolio. So it's not that we have to start from scratch, it's more about how to get this portfolio together. And we have listed here some of the key elements that we need to put together. And for each of these elements, we believe there are existing building blocks. If I think of identity management, I've seen this on your priorities for the CRISP program, or data management. These might be very well some of those elements where we can draw on the experience that is already there, and then by putting these elements together, develop the complex system as a blue box in a relatively short time. So we are very optimistic, and we hope that we can provide this change and create a new cloud computing environment for Europe. And as a European player, of course, that would fit really very well to T-Systems' DNA, and hope that we can then play an active part in that. Thank you for your attention.